Hey, welcome to Carl DeGregorio's Desk Session 17. Okay, we're closing in on the double dime, on the four nickels. And my aim is to keep it going, and my aim is to make it mean something to me more than really the most important thing, I suppose, any effort. I would love for the byproduct of this effort to be helpful to others, but in the meantime, it's just a place for me to be on track with what I'm after, which I guess I've taken some of the holiday blues too far, to be honest with you, and trying to reroute. And one of the things I did was I went to see a movie. I went to see the Bob Dylan movie, A Complete Unknown, and I was looking forward to it. It wouldn't take much to get me to be fired up about a Bob Dylan movie. Most biopics. And I knew a bit about his story. I knew about him going rogue at the Newport Folk Festival back in the day. I knew that was controversial, that, that he, played, that he played electric, and that was a controversy at the time, right? Oh, for simpler times when that was enough to piss people off. But I knew that was the sort of thrust of it. But what I'm after, and what I spoke about previously, is resonation, things that resonate. I think things that resonate because they're based in some fundamental truth. It's a wary thing for me to use the word truth, because that has become a weaponized, oddly enough, it has become a debatable term, or it's debatable whether truth is coming at us in media, for sure. Okay, I'll concede that. But what I'm talking about is, because things that are fiction, that are nonfiction, reality based on true stories, that's one thing. But in storytelling, there has to be a resonating, it just has to ring true, and it has to be, as art, it has to sort of resonate or stir or awaken or just sort of move you. And I found myself quite moved by this film. I'm a huge Springsteen fan, so if you you can't be a Springsteen fan and then say that Bob Dylan doesn't do it for you. There's really no Springsteen without Bob Dylan. There's almost not much room for singers and songwriters without Bob Dylan. I would hazard the opinion that Bob Dylan is, more important than the Beatles in terms of songwriting, in terms of confessional, in terms of heartfelt, just pure delivery system of guitar, singer, lyrics, melody. That guy with a voice that could turn people off somehow managed so much beauty in his repertoire, which is very evident in the film. And I will confess, I had to look up the name of the song after the fact, and there are certain songs that I can't get through sometimes, depending on how oiled the emotional machine is, or depending on where I'm at in my life or where my mood is at, that they will wallop me. They will take me out, and I will get stirred emotionally just almost by the first few chords, first few lines. And one of those songs is in the Bob Dylan movie, and it's called Girl from North Country, and it's on the first album. I have since ascertained, and it just, in the theater, I had to be consoled. I had to be consoled by my girlfriend, because once that first freaking chord strum and the first line, I was taken away, where I had to compose myself, because something in that song, maybe the chord the chords, the turn of phrase, the finger picking of the guitar, or what was transmuted. It's always floored me. Always. Many of his songs do that to me. But just think about how potent and how true and how honest and how powerful the sieve that song had to go through to get to me in a theater in Southern California. The amount of interference, the amount of electromagnetics, the amount of satellites and digital technology, the amount of rewriting, and the amount of conceptualizing that had to go through to get to me to affect me. My point is that Bob Dylan was on something, not on something meaning like a drug, but he was either channeling or touched or just decided he was going to speak, quote unquote, his truth or the truth about how he felt. And he wasn't going to do it ashamedly. He was going to do it in such a way that 50, 60 years later, an actor portraying him as a young man doing the one thing art can do, which is time travel, which is the most potent thing. They time traveled back, and an actor performing his song, yes, in his voice and a good mimicking, stirred me to my core, to the point where my girlfriend was patting me on the shoulder because I was trying not to sob, to be honest with you. And kudos to those filmmakers and that actor, and all the way back to Bob Dylan, for being able to do that for someone, and hopefully many, because I think the reviews are in, and for me that is nothing short of I guess a miracle, and this may get a little bit into a touchy field of spirituality, but I've always connected to my art as a spiritual journey. Sam Cooke was originally a gospel singer before he became a pop singer and songwriter, and he was in a band or a vocal group called the Soul Stirrers. And that refers to when your soul is stirred by a calling, by the word of the Bible, the word of God, or whatever. So they sang, gospel music as the soul stirrers. And I've used that word soul stirring or that phrase, or that term, that 2-word term, soul stirred. I've been soul stirred, and I was soul stirred in my youth by the words of Shakespeare, by the words of Ibsen, Arthur Miller, and by the words of Springsteen, and by the words of a band called Big Country. And I've been stirred, and that's what great art can do, and that's always been what I've been after. And so thankfully, I redirected my grief or my blues. I redirected them into giving myself the gift of going to the movies on Christmas, which is also where I was stirred in the movie theater. And again was stirred by the words and songs of Bob Dylan, Robert Zimmerman. And I guess I should put spoiler, but it's it's kind of stupid to have to worry about spoiling a biopic if but I will give you a chance to not be spoiled. But I have to talk about some of the stuff in the movie that is getting to the core of what I'm talking about, and it's one of the few, there's not a lot of jabbering, there's a lot of music, and there's a lot of him inhabiting this role, and a lot of him walking the streets, and a lot of the exposition is done by the folk community in reaction to Bob Dylan. And there are some scenes between him and his lover Joan Baez, and his lover, the composite girl from the first album cover. And what we obviously don't know a lot about Bob Dylan, that he doesn't want us to know. And he wants his songs to do the speaking for him. And in this day and age of being on a vlog or putting things up on YouTube and spitting out your guts and telling people everything about you and having biographical information just at a fingertip, we can't have that same mystique, or we can't really hide behind a persona. And although we are, right, the avatars online are personas, digital personas, but Bob Dylan was very calculating and not in being enigmatic. And but there is a scene in the, I think it's on an elevator, and he's really blowing up. He's as big as anybody's ever been. He's being stalked in the streets, and his manager's promising that he'll play a song at a fucking fancy dinner or some shit. So he's feeling a little bit like a trained monkey, and he's resenting it. And he's on such a tear. He's writing these songs that are, bonkers good, blowing in the wind, times they are changing. That song that got me, that's just an album track, Dogs of War, or Gods of War, whatever the fuck that war song. Like, he's just cranking them out. And what he says to an effect in this scene is, people ask him where the songs come from. Where do the songs come from? And you've heard this a million times with songwriting, that if you're just, they come out quickly. They come out in a short burst. Songwriters wake up in the middle of the night to jot shit down, to sing something into a tape recorder, to get to the piano and write down the notes so they don't lose the song. It's like that when I was a comic. I would have my Moleskine notebook, and I'd write shit down just because you just get these waves. You're in these flows that these things come to you, and you can't ignore them. And he says it to the effect, I've only seen it once, so I don't know, I'm paraphrasing, but he says what they're asking is, why didn't they come to me? So the envy that people feel, sadly, is, if you believe some of this stuff is channeled and directed by God, by the Spirit, by the Muse, whatever you want to call it, if you believe that is sort of without a value system, it just sort of came like a switchboard, this beautiful song from beyond, connected to the plug that the operator in the sky plugged into this flesh entity on the planet Earth, Bob Dylan, and he listened, and he chiseled around the stone and found the melody and found the song, and it sucks when you want to be that, because of the trappings of fame, when you want to be that because you at one point did write a song, or at one point did want to sing or want to act, when you don't get the messages in the prolific way that they came to Bob Dylan, the prolific way that they came to Prince, or the prolific way that it came to pencil in your favorite writers, songwriters. There was always these fertile and fertile periods, and I guess that's been my quest, is to stand away, to get honestly more right inside as the actual work of being an artist, to not interfere, to be free, to be let the talent you do possess, the God-given flow, let that not be derailed by neurotic thoughts, not be derailed by possessiveness or yearnings that are earthbound. You know what I mean? And that's what really happens when a great song that was written 60 years ago can make a fucking Italian-American dude from New Jersey weep in a theater. Man, that's where it's at. And so what I have been trying to tell myself and people is that there is no separation of the arts. It's just art. And I'd have to look at the etymology of the word art. Artis, I think it's art for art's sake, is the MGM motto, which is funny because it's a trademarked logo of a for-profit film company. But I wonder, and I would need to do this with research, is there a divine definition or a divine root to the word artist. I know thespian, which is a very antiquated term, comes from thespis, which was a chanter. I think it was a Gregorian chanter in the circle of doing that really harmonic chanting that people, that enigma that would kind of use on a dance track, that kind of Gregorian chant. I think Thespis, and I may be wrong, but Thespis is the one who basically soloed, who broke out of the ranks and stood in the center of the circle, and that, they say, became the first actor to kind of go and riff and feel what I believe, feel the spirit, as it were, and get out there and just fucking solo because it felt so good. And they attribute that with the word thespian and theater. And so that's where my particular art form has some derivation. But music is, it's been around since the drum, right? Since a baby's cry, and then melody and all that stuff. So it's ancient and it's primal. And so it does move. And that's what I've been trying to do as an artist, is figure out what my quote unquote song is going to be. And where I am very frustrated today is, it dawns on me, if you don't tell your own story, someone's going to tell it for you. And in my quest to be thought of not as a type but as an artist, acting has become frustrating because we talk about in the marketplace, we talk about types, we talk about what you could play, range, all these things, and musicians get to sort of create personas, and rappers get to create alter egos, and Bob Dylan is an alter ego, and then let the work speak for yourself, be the truest thing you can come up with. The best part of you should come out of your art. And you'll see in the film that he's a pretty crummy boyfriend or crummy romantic partner. And it makes you wonder, obviously, that may be a 20th century notion of men treating women badly, or artists being let off the hook because they're so talented, and a la Picasso. And I know a lot of crummy musicians have been crummy people and used that pose as a way to act badly, but I don't know the particulars. These are not people I know, and it has to be fictionalized or dramatized. And I'm not saying that you should be forgiven for any ill deeds if you are a brilliant artist. I'm just saying that being honest, I guess, is your best bet. As much as you can in any field, being honest, being being a truth seeker. And this stuff gets really cloying and very hard to talk about, because people get hyper, and they get hyper vigilant, and they get hyper dogmatic about their truth, the truth, where the truth is, and then it becomes a battle of statistics and a battle of databases. I'm just saying that all I know is that when I hear Girl from North Country, I can barely get through it. All I know is when I hear A Song for You, the Donny Hathaway version, I can barely get through it. When I hear Jennifer Holliday, when I hear Bonnie Raitt singing I Can't Make You Love Me If You Don't, I mean, what are we talking about? This is acting, singing, guitar playing, songwriting. It is just, in a word, it's art. And that's what I'm after. And there's some acting that can do it too. Obviously, you got your Brandos, you got Denzel, you got Rocky saying, Adrian, we did it, because it's a love story, right? Not I did it, we did it. Adrian, we did it. When he finally goes the distance, stuff like that. It's really hard for me to feel like some of that's not divinely driven. And so around the holidays, when I get glum, and we all get glum, and we get pressed in by the things that we get wrong about the holiday, or this particular holiday, not getting specific, but if it's about a holy day, right, then what the fuck does what's on sale at Target have to do with it? I get it. Kids want toys. I lived and loved and couldn't wait for the tree and all that amazing stuff. That is the holidays. But it's not the holy part, you know? And so that's why going to the movies, very secularly going to the movies and hearing someone like Bob Dylan sing Change Is Gonna Come, or Blown in the Wind, or Like a Rolling Stone, how does it feel? I mean, this stuff is ancient to the youth market, but god damn, it's so good. And like I said, the singing can't even get in the way. If you have to be, Joan Baez could sing like an angel, and she made hits with his songs, but man, there's just something about the way he delivered. I would put, someone like DMX in a similar category, where it's just, I mean, you can't, and that's the cool thing about rap, you can't really cover rap. The only cover I can think of is, a couple of covers I can think of is Snoop doing Lottie Dottie, Slick Rick, but putting his own spin on it. But other than that, you don't cover other rappers, because that stuff comes from your pen, But there are remixes where the verses, the Method Man, Mary J. Blige, I'll Be There For You, You're All I Need to Get By. It's very rare, but I think Dylan was that kind of guy where it's like you don't want to hear anybody else deliver those songs. And so I took a deep dive and kind of got melancholy, because some of that stuff's really achy and painful, and he's letting you in. He just won't let you in on data, and he won't let you into his personal life. I think Prince maybe even bit some of that enigmatic. They're both from Minnesota, right? Prince and Bob Dylan, something about that. And prolific and great writers, great lyricists. And Sam Cooke being mentioned because of Sam Cooke recognizing that the truth was going to be the really important thing to a singer, not perfect pitch, not vibrato, not angelic tone, or staying in tune. That wasn't going to be the most important thing about singers. Singers had to literally be cantors, if you will, or truth tellers, or harbingers of hope, harbingers of doom. And that's hopefully what I'm trying to do with art. And hopefully maybe need to sort of go back and say, when I'm looking at my one-man show, am I on that path? Am I at least, everything is a work in progress, and perfection isn't what we're after, but am I writing from that place that could, hopefully move people? And, I use a lot of times in my describing what I'm after as an actor or as a writer / performer of my own material, I use Stevie Ray Vaughan as an example of a free artist, having the combination of virtuosity and flow, and just being able to emote through the instrument as if there was no separation. Those are the things I'm after, and those are the things, I guess, the training and all the rehearsing and all of that effort. I think that's what, so that you can then get out of the way. And another great thing in the movie is you see Dylan's character. He wakes up, he smokes he relights half a butt out of the ashtray, and he picks up his fucking guitar, and so that's really what inspired me about it. And the other parts being, sometimes you gotta let someone fly, set them free, that kind of cliche. Or he had to make a clean break with a movement that he no longer wanted to be the flag bearer for, and he had to go out on his own, and he had to do the rock and roll, and because I think he knew if he stayed folky, it's limited bandwidth. He wanted mass appeal, and he didn't apologize, and I'm sure he had feelings about it, but I think it's a fine film. I salute the filmmakers, and thank you for listening to me ramble and rant about one of the most highfalutin / overwrought confessional movie reviews. But go check out A Complete Unknown, crank some Dylan, and check out Death Sessions. And this was me, Carl D. And thanks for kind of getting me through this holiday patch. So we'll talk to you next time. Peace.